I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for over 10 years now. We got married about 5 months ago, and honestly, I thought we were solid. Sure, nobody's perfect, but I believed in us. We had our share of fights, like any couple, but nothing that felt like a deal breaker. We were planning a future, talking about kids, talking about how we'd grow old together. From the outside, we looked like a normal couple. She's a bitchy, sharp-tongued woman who always kept things interesting, and I was the calm, steady guy trying to hold everything together. But a few months back, I started noticing little things. She'd be on her phone more than usual, hiding it behind her back when I entered the room. She'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting. Small things, nothing that screamed cheating, but enough to make me feel uneasy. Plus, her behavior around our mutual friends, especially Dave, changed. She'd laugh a little too hard at his jokes, stayed a little too close when they were in the same room. Honestly, I brushed it off as paranoia. Maybe I was just overthinking. We had that plan to go on a trip last month, and she kept canceling last minute, saying she was too busy with work. But when I pushed her about it, she'd get bitchy and tell me I was being paranoid, that I was imagining things. Typical Emily, blame shift, deny, lie if you have to. Still, I trusted her, or at least I wanted to. But then I found something that shattered that blind trust. It was a random Wednesday night, and I was sitting on the couch scrolling through my phone. I had a weird feeling that I should check her emails. I know, probably not the best move, but I was curious. I was just trying to see if she'd been hiding anything from me. I opened her email app and started skimming. That's when I saw it, a series of hotel receipts, in her name from a week before our wedding. My stomach dropped. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was all there: hotel names, dates, amounts. She stayed at some shitty hotel downtown. I looked closer and saw charges for room service, extra amenities, all kinds of stuff. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? That was a week before we said I do, and here she was sneaking around, lying right in my face. I didn't sleep that night. I kept staring at the screen, trying to process what I'd found. I felt sick, betrayed. I wondered what else she was hiding. I knew then that this wasn't just a little flirtation or a harmless mistake. It was something serious. And worse, I had a feeling it wasn't just a one-time thing. She was lying about everything: her whereabouts, her feelings, her loyalty. The next day I decided I couldn't keep quiet. I confronted her after she came home from work. She looked at me with that typical bitchy expression, like she already knew she'd be able to spin her way out of this. I laid the evidence on the table: the hotel receipts, the dates, everything. Her face froze for a moment, then she started to lie. "Oh, Jake, it's not what you think. I was just there for a conference, for work. I swear I didn't cheat on you. It's just a stupid mistake I made during a stressful time." That's when I lost it. I called her out on her bullshit. I told her I'd seen enough, that I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore. Her reaction was classic Emily: defensive, bitchy, trying to twist everything around and make me feel guilty for suspecting her. She told me I was crazy, that I was overly paranoid, that she loved me and would never do something like that. But I knew better. I could see right through her. The lies, the bullshit, it all came crashing down in that moment. I felt my blood boiling. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a slap in the face after 10 years of what I thought was a real relationship. I realized then that I couldn't trust her anymore. Everything was a lie. I didn't sleep that night either, just replaying everything in my head. Her sneaking around, the hotel receipts, how she looked me in the eye and lied. It hurt worse than anything I'd ever felt. I was angry, devastated, and honestly, I felt like I'd lost the woman I loved completely. That's where I stand now, at the beginning of a long, terrible process. Next few days were a blur. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Every time I saw her, I felt this surge of anger and betrayal that made my stomach churn. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I let things get this far. I mean, I wasn't an idiot, but somehow I was blind. Maybe I was just convincing myself that she was perfect, that we had something real. Turns out I was just fooling myself. She tried to act normal at first, acting like nothing had happened. She'd come home, pretend to be interested in me, but I could see the guilt behind her eyes. She'd sometimes act bitchy, snapping at me for no reason, then immediately trying to smooth things over with a fake smile when I called her out. It was all bullshit. I knew she was lying to herself as much as she was lying to me. One night I decided I needed to dig deeper. I started snooping a little more, checking her phone, her social media, anything I could find. That's when I saw the pattern. She'd been texting Dave, our mutual friend, almost daily. The messages weren't just friendly. They were flirtatious. Little compliments, suggestive jokes, innuendos. I saw one that made my stomach turn. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Hope you're ready for some fun." I felt sick reading that. How could she be so brazen? How could she lie to my face and act like everything was fine? I felt a deep mix of betrayal and disgust. I'd trusted her for 10 years, and here she was, sneaking around with our friend. I didn't even know what hurt more, the fact that she cheated or that she used me as some kind of joke behind my back. I decided I couldn't keep quiet anymore. The next morning I confronted her again, but this time I was furious. I laid out everything I'd found. The hotel receipts, the texts, the suspicious behavior. Her face started to flicker with panic. She tried her usual "it's not what it looks like." I was stressed. It was just sex, but I wasn't buying any of it. I told her she was a liar and a cheat, that I saw right through her schemes. Her reaction. She got even bitchier, said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid, that Dave and I were just friends, that she never meant for any of this to happen. She called me insecure and accused me of ruining everything because I didn't trust her. I wanted to punch her. I've never felt such anger, like she was casually dismissing over a decade of our life together as if it was nothing. She kept insisting she loved me and that she'd never cheat, but her words felt hollow. Her actions told a different story. That night, I sat alone in the dark, thinking about everything. I was a mess, hurt, betrayed, furious. I couldn't believe she'd do this, especially with Dave. The guy I thought was a friend, someone I'd trusted. It all felt like a giant, cruel joke. I kept replaying her lies, her dismissals, her bitchy attitude, and I wondered how I'd let myself get to this point. How did she manage to keep lying so smoothly? How could she be so callous? In the quiet darkness, I realized I had a choice. I could confront her again, demand answers, and maybe try to fix things, or I could cut my losses and walk away. Honestly, the idea of staying with someone who'd do this to me felt impossible. I was done trusting her, done pretending everything was okay. My gut told me that this wasn't something I could just forgive and forget. I was done being the fool in this story, so I decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean, then I'd make my decision. I told her I needed space, that I couldn't do this anymore until she was honest. I didn't sleep that night either. I kept thinking about what I'd do next. I'd never felt so broken in my life. I thought I knew her, thought we had a future, but now I wasn't so sure about anything anymore. All I knew was that I wouldn't let her manipulate me anymore. The next few days were some of the hardest I've ever gone through. I kept trying to process everything, how someone I loved and trusted could turn out to be so different behind my back. Every moment I wasn't working or pretending to go about my usual day, I was thinking about that hotel, those texts, her bitchy attitude, and how she lied so effortlessly. It was like a punch to the gut every time I remembered her, smirking or denying everything. I decided I needed to get to the bottom of this once and for all. I couldn't just sit around waiting for her to confess or lie her way out of it. So I started digging. I reached out to a private investigator I knew from a friend. Not something I wanted to do, but I figured I had to be sure. I wanted to catch her in the act if I could. I told her I knew about her affair and I wanted proof. I told her I was done with her lies, that I needed the truth from her own mouth. A couple of days later, I got the call. The investigator had followed her and he had proof. She was sneaking out late at night, meeting Dave at some hotel downtown. They'd been doing this for weeks, maybe longer. I felt like my world was collapsing all over again. The evidence was concrete. Photographs, timestamps, even receipts from the hotel bar. It wasn't just some one-night stand. It was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying to me the entire time. That afternoon, I decided I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I called her at work and told her I knew everything, that I had proof. Her voice on the phone was shaky, but she tried to deny it. Said it was all a misunderstanding, that Dave meant nothing, that she was overwhelmed and made a stupid mistake. I could hear her trying to lie, trying to spin her way out of it again, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I wasn't interested in her excuses anymore. I wanted the truth, no matter how ugly it was. That's when she snapped. She started yelling at me, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying on her, saying I was crazy for ruining what we had. She told me I was overreacting, that I should trust her. Trust her. After all of this, that ship had sailed. But then she got even bitchier, saying I was just jealous and that I was possessive and insecure for confronting her. That really pissed me off. How dare she call me insecure after she'd been sneaking around with Dave? I'd had enough. I told her she was a lying, cheating bitch and hung up. I felt like I'd just woken up from a nightmare I couldn't escape. From the emotional roller coaster was brutal. I went from shock to anger to deep sadness and then back again. Every time I thought about her, I felt this sense of betrayal that was almost physical. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see it coming. I trusted her for years, and in the blink of an eye, it was all gone. I started to question everything, my judgment, my feelings, even myself. How could I have been so blind? That night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do next. I knew I couldn't stay with her, not after everything. The pain was too raw, the betrayal too sharp. I felt like I'd lost my best friend, my wife, my partner, all in one moment. But I also knew I had to decide whether to fight for the marriage or walk away for good. Honestly, part of me wanted to burn it all down, her, Dave, everything. I was so pissed off I couldn't even think straight. I finally decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean and tell me what she really wanted. If she was willing to be honest, maybe I could forgive her someday. But if she continued to lie or deny, I'd be done. No more second chances. I told her I wanted to meet face to face, that I needed to hear her admit the truth. I was done playing her game, done pretending everything was okay when I knew it was. I don't know how this story will end, but I do know that I won't let her manipulate me anymore. I've been hurt enough. It's time to take control of my life and figure out what's best for me. I learned a lot these past few days about trust, about betrayal, about how fragile everything we build really is. And honestly, I'm exhausted, but I also feel a glimmer of clarity. I know what I need to do. The day of our face-to-face confrontation finally arrived, and I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. I wanted her to admit everything, to look me in the eyes and own up to what she'd done. I'd spent so much time imagining how this would go, but nothing prepared me for the raw emotion that hit me the moment she walked into my apartment. She looked the same, bitchy expression, that little defiant smirk, like she was already expecting to manipulate her way out of it again. We sat down across from each other, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I didn't waste any time. I laid out all the evidence once more, proof of her affair with Dave, the hotel receipts, the texts, everything. I watched her carefully, trying to see if she'd crack, if she'd try to deny it for the last time. Instead, she looked at me with that haughty attitude, as if she thought she could still play this game. Finally, I demanded she tell me the truth. No more lies, no more bullshit. I wanted her to be honest for once in her life. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity before she finally shook her head and rolled her eyes. Then she said, "Look, Jake, I admit I fucked up. I was stressed, I was acting like an idiot, but it didn't mean anything. Dave and I are just friends, just sex, nothing serious. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. It was a mistake, a one-time thing I regret." Her voice was dripping with that fake sincerity, but I saw right through her. I felt rage boiling inside me. How could she say that? After everything, she's still lying, still trying to minimize what she did. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You expect me to believe that? Hotel receipts, texts, and all the signs point to something much bigger. Don't lie to me now. I deserve the truth, Emily. I've been through hell these past days, and I won't be played anymore." Her face twisted into a snarl. "You're just insecure, Jake. You're controlling. You don't trust me because you're jealous. Dave is just a friend. How many times do I have to tell you? You're overreacting as usual. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." Her words hit me like a slap. She's still trying to gaslight me, still making herself the victim, but I wasn't buying it. I stood up, feeling a mix of anger and sadness. "You're lying, Emily. You don't get to keep pretending anymore. I see what's really going on. I trusted you and you threw that all away. I don't even know who you are anymore." I looked at her knowing I had reached the end of my patience. I told her that I was done with her bullshit, that I needed space to think and figure out what I really wanted. She looked furious now, her bitchy attitude flipping into outright rage. "Fine, go, walk out and think about how you're overreacting," she spat. "But don't come crying to me when you realize you're the one losing everything. I didn't cheat because I wanted to, I just made a stupid mistake and it's not a big deal. You're blowing this out of proportion." Her voice was shrill, like she was trying to guilt me into feeling sorry for her. I felt a deep ache inside my chest. It was like I'd been punched again, by her words, by her denial. I'd been betrayed, lied to, and now I was being painted as the crazy one for catching her. But I knew the truth. I knew what I saw and what I felt. I told her that I needed to think about everything, that I'd be in touch when I was ready, and I walked out of her apartment, leaving her standing there, furious and defiant. That walkout was the worst thing I'd ever done. I felt like I was leaving a part of myself behind. The anger, the heartbreak, everything hit me all at once. I couldn't believe she'd do this, after all those years, after promising to love me forever. I trusted her with my life and she spat in my face. I realized then that I was at a crossroads. I could try to forgive her and work through this mess, or I could walk away for good. Honestly, I'd never felt more lost in my entire life. All I knew was that I couldn't stay in that place with her anymore. I spent the next few hours alone trying to piece everything together. I kept replaying her words, her defiant attitude, her fake apologies. Was she really sorry, or just sorry she got caught? I didn't know anymore, but one thing was clear. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see what was right in front of me. I had to make a decision, and it had to be the right one. I knew that staying with her after everything would only hurt me more in the long run. It was time to face the truth. She was gone, and I had to figure out how to pick up the pieces. The days that followed were a whirlwind of confusion and pain. I didn't sleep much, kept waking up with her face in my head, wondering if I'd ever trusted the right person. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, how I let things get so bad, but deep down I knew. Trust is built over years, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. Still, I kept asking if there was any way back, any way to salvage what was left. But every time I looked at her words, her fake apologies, or her bitchy smirk, I realized I was just fooling myself. I knew I had to make a move. I reached out to some friends, people I trusted, to get a second opinion. Most of them told me I needed to cut her out to start fresh. But I also felt an odd sense of guilt. After 10 years, I genuinely cared about her, loved her even. I kept thinking about the good times, the plans we made, the dreams I had for us. But how could I ignore the fact that she so easily threw all that away for a few moments of sex and a lie? How could I pretend that her dismissive attitude and her bitchy smirk didn't mean she didn't care? One night, I decided I needed clarity. I set up a meeting with her face to face and told her I wanted to hear her out. I didn't want any more lies. I needed her to be honest, no matter how ugly the truth was. She came over that evening looking defiant, like she was ready to play her usual game. As soon as she stepped inside, I laid everything out. The evidence, my feelings, how betrayed I felt, her reaction. She rolled her eyes and looked at me like I was some kind of joke. "Jake, seriously, you're making a big deal out of nothing. I told you Dave and I are just friends. I was stressed. It was a stupid mistake. That's all. You're blowing this way out of proportion." She crossed her arms and looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. I didn't buy it. Not anymore. I stared at her, feeling my anger boil over. "No, Emily, it's not just a dumb mistake, it's a betrayal. You lied to me for weeks, snuck around behind my back with our friend. Do you even understand what you did, how much that hurts?" I could feel the pain in my voice, but I was also furious. I told her I'd had enough of her bullshit, that I was done pretending she was innocent. I told her I deserved honesty, and that if she wasn't willing to give it, then I had no choice but to walk away. Her bitchy attitude didn't change. Instead, she started to get more defensive, raising her voice. "You think I'm some horrible person. I made a mistake, that's all. It's not like I slept with him every night or something. It was a stupid, reckless thing, and I regret it. But I still love you, Jake. I swear I do. Don't let one mistake ruin everything." Her words were hollow, her tone manipulative. I saw right through her. I told her I didn't believe her anymore, that her actions proved her words were empty. That trust, once broken, is nearly impossible to mend. I told her I needed time to think, that I was done with her bullshit, and I wasn't going to be manipulated anymore. I got up and walked out, leaving her standing there, furious, bitchy, and still lying. That night I felt a mix of relief and despair. A relief that I finally took action, but despair because I knew the damage was done. Our marriage was on its last legs. In the days that followed, I decided I needed to get some space. No contact, no texts, no calls. I needed to clear my head and figure out what I really wanted. Was I going to try and save this? Or was it better to cut my losses and walk away? Every part of me told me to leave her behind. She'd shown me who she really was. Still, part of me kept clinging to the hope that maybe, just maybe, she'd come to her senses and be honest for once. But deep down, I knew. I knew I couldn't keep living in this lie. Trust was shattered beyond repair. I had to accept that the woman I loved was gone, that she'd chosen someone else, someone she lied and manipulated to stay close to. I'd been betrayed in the worst way, and I had to face the reality that my marriage was over for good this time. That's when I realized that revenge or anger wouldn't bring her back, but standing up for myself, walking away, and reclaiming my life would. And honestly, that's what I was going to do. The final decision didn't come easily, but deep down I knew it was the only way forward. I packed my things, left her apartment, and didn't look back. The pain was still there, like a gaping hole in my chest, but there was also a strange sense of relief. I finally took control. I finally woke up from the nightmare I'd been living. For 10 years, I'd believed in us and her, and now I saw that it was all just a facade. She was a liar, a manipulator, and she never loved me the way I thought she did. In the aftermath, I cut ties with her completely. No calls, no texts, no contact. I needed to rebuild myself piece by piece. I reached out to friends, family, people I trusted. Their support helped me get through the worst parts of the heartbreak. I realized I'd been blind to her true nature for so long, but now I could finally see clearly. The trust is gone, completely shattered, and honestly, I don't think I could ever trust her again, even if I wanted to. Some betrayals cut too deep. I learned a lot from this experience, about trust, about what it really means to be loyal, and about how some people are just good at hiding who they really are. I also learned I shouldn't ignore the warning signs, no matter how small they seem at first. I should have listened to that gut feeling from the beginning. But I also learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away and save what's left of your dignity. Now I focus on myself. I go to the gym, work on my career, and spend time with people who truly care about me. I refuse to let her betrayal define me. It's taken time, but I'm starting to feel human again. I know I'll be okay, better than okay. I know now that I deserve honesty and respect, and I won't settle for less. The pain will fade, and I'll find happiness again, but I'll carry the lessons of this betrayal with me forever. To anyone out there going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs, no matter how small. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone you love has betrayed you, remember, you're not alone. You deserve better. You have the strength to walk away from the lies and rebuild your life. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself to be loved honestly and to be with someone who truly values you.